In this tutorial, we go over where to look on the website for the most useful stuff, how to install MADARA on Windows, and how to create your first MADARA application. The MADARA website includes detailed information about the supported architectures, transports, and the various features of the middleware. It also provides documentation on the library itself, downloads of compiled binaries, and some wiki pages that guide you through aspects of the middleware. One bookmark you may want to add to your browser is the DocSgen documentation of the library, which lists all the namespaces, functions, and classes in the MADARA middleware. Here we check out the knowledgebase class and search for a function called readFile, which we'll be using in one of the next tutorials. Once we've clicked on the readFile function, we see a description of the function as well as the 3 parameters that can be passed to it. This kind of information can be invaluable when trying to figure out new features. Another very useful part of the website is the Downloads directory, which currently houses our compiled binaries for easy installation. We could go ahead and compile the MADARA library, but for the purposes of this quick tutorial video, we'll simply download the self-installing executable for 32-bit Windows. This will give us everything we need to create a Visual Studio project that uses the MADARA middleware. Once the installer is downloaded, configure the installation as you see fit and hit Next to continue through the installation wizard. After you've clicked Finish, MADARA will be installed in your system, and a README file will be displayed that walks you through next steps on the system. This includes the creation of your own Visual Studio project, a process we'll walk through right now. If you're interested in building your own custom MADARA installation, which can include things like the Java port or various extensions like CATS, check out the Installation from Source wiki page. However, we'll not be covering the contents of those advanced features in this tutorial. Alright, it's time to create our first MADARA program, the Hello World application that will show us how to link to MADARA middleware. Open Visual Studio and create a new Win32 console application project. I'm calling this one First Steps. Now specify an empty project with no precompiled header and then click Finish. By default, empty projects don't have any C++ compilation settings, and we'll need to change these settings for Visual Studio to be able to find our MADARA source code files and headers. To make these settings accessible, we add a new CPP file. Any file name will do here. Now that the CPP file has been added, we can modify the project properties and add or include and library directories for MADARA and ACE, as well as the specific debug and release libraries we'll need for linking. In your C++ settings, edit the additional include directories to include MADARA root include and ACE root. Inside of the linker general settings, edit the additional library directories to include MADARA rootlib and ACE rootlib. It's important to note that these directories should also be added to your path variable in order for dynamic linking to work with your compiled executables from the command line. This step essentially tells the compiler where to find dynamically linked libraries for the compiled executable. The last step is to edit linker input, where you will add ace.lib and madara.lib to the additional dependencies. For debug mode, you'll want to specify ace lowercase d.lib and madara lowercase d.lib. Now, in this case, the lowercase d specifically stands for the debug mode version of the lib file that will have all the debugging symbols in it. Ace.lib and madara.lib are release mode versions of the two middlewares. After you do this step, Visual Studio will be able to see symbols for both ACE and MADARA, which will allow the compiler to offer intelligent recommendations and autocomplete for MADARA functions, classes, and header files. This is all that is needed to MADARAfy your project. Now, let's include the knowledgebase header file from MADARA Knowledge Engine and create a C++ main function. Next, we create a knowledge base. The knowledge base is the main entry point into the MADARA middleware. It is a thread-safe class that stores variables and can transport them to all other agents in the network. We're not going to use any of those cool features just yet. Instead, we're only interested in printing Hello World to the console. This is a kind of special Hello World message though, because it is also thread safe. With a knowledge base, you can print from multiple threads, and all of them should print out Hello World without interleaving the text. We've compiled the project and it succeeded, but there are some warnings about deprecated string copy functions. Since we trust the MADARA library, let's insert a preprocessor directive which the compiler is offering to us in order to suppress the warnings. In your project settings under C++ preprocessor, add CRT secure no warnings to the preprocessor definitions. When we compile again, the warnings will go away. As you can see in the screen capture, the warnings are gone, but we're not quite done with our MADARA program. In Visual Studio, you can compile for debug or release, and we've only set up the project in debug mode so far. Release will be the efficient code that we deploy in the real world because it is orders of magnitude faster. We repeat all of the same settings we did for the debug mode project configuration with one small change. In the linker input settings, we specify ace.lib and madara.lib without the lowercase d's. This is all we need to do to get the project compiling for release mode. Just like our debug first compilation, we have warnings. Optimized compilation complains about additional deprecated functions. To suppress these warnings, we add the warning 4996 to the C++ Advanced tab inside of the Disable Specific Warnings field. This will take care of our warnings in release mode. As you can see, the compilation was successful this time with no warnings. Open a command prompt and navigate to the release or debug folders in your project directory to run your executable. Type in the name of your executable and Hello World should print to the screen. Congratulations, you've just written your first MADARA application. As always, be sure to check out our MADARA website and YouTube channel for more information and guides on MADARA.